Now, in the face of ongoing trade winds from south of the border, Prime Minister Mark Carney has today unveiled a new Canada-U.S. Trade Advisory Council. That announcement coming ahead of the CUSMA review negotiations starting in July. The Advisory Council's membership crosses party lines with the inclusion of former Conservative Cabinet Minister Lisa Raitt and Party Leader Erin O'Toole. It also includes industry experts in manufacturing and softwood lumber. Here's what the Prime Minister had to say heading into Cabinet earlier today.
I'm very pleased to have that group. It's a diverse group, leaders from the union movement, experts in industry, and CEOs in finance and across the economy.
And the CBC's Janice McGregor joins us now from Ottawa. She's been taking a look over the names on this new advisory council, or added advisory council, we should say. Janice, what's significant about who's on this panel and what it says about priorities?
It's kind of a window, right, into the people that Mark Carney wants around him, giving him a line of sight on things that maybe he wouldn't otherwise be familiar with. Of course, he's not an expert on every industry. There is a heavy weighting on the side of corporate CEOs when you go up and down this list. More on that in a minute. You mentioned a couple of the former politicians, former Harper cabinet ministers that are going to be serving, not unlike Justin Trudeau's approach to bringing over a former interim Conservative leader to advise him. I want to take note, though, of a couple of former premiers that are among this group. Jean Charest, first and foremost, also a federal Conservative, someone who has a line of sight on issues specific to Quebec politics, and someone who, in his life after politics in the private sector, has been a big proponent of trade diversification in Canada. Of course, a big advocate for more trade with Europe, and someone who's been very active on U.S. trade files as well. On the other side, there is a former premier from Nunavut, P.J. Akeeagok, who is I think, evidence of the Prime Minister's focus on Arctic sovereignty issues, the need to build more in the north, the need to make sure that infrastructure planning includes the priority of defending Canada's interests in that part of the country. So an important voice there. Also, in the vein of former politicians, Ralph Goodale, who most recently was serving as Canada's High Commissioner in London, now back home. Not only does he know a lot about the transatlantic relationship and how the UK has been dealing with Canada and the US recently, but also a former public safety minister, a former finance minister, a line of sight on those national security and senior economic files, but Western Canadian as well, and understands the politics of Western Canada as they play out for Liberal governments. Important to sort of compare and contrast who remains on this list, who doesn't. So a couple faces very familiar from the first NAFTA renegotiation, Lana Payne from Unifor, Flavio Volpe from the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. Those were strong voices for Canada's automotive sector during the first Trump administration. Those talks notably absent from this list. Former U.S. ambassadors that served Justin Trudeau. You think of the David McNaughtons, the Kirsten Hillmans of the world. Chrystia Freeland, of course, busy on Ukraine files now. Steve Verhoeven, who led that negotiation for Canada, also not on this advisory council. You know who are, though? Who is? A lot of corporate CEOs. We're talking the head of CN, the head of BMO, a banker, the head of Nutrien, a potash company, the head of TransCanada, pipelines, head of tech, critical minerals. You go down and you think about all the industries where Canada is looking to have leverage with the Americans. There is a senior business leader representing all of those among this group. Dominic LeBlanc was explaining that to reporters on his way into Cabinet this morning.
It's very much focused on businesses that obviously have important relations with American customers, American business partners. I'm looking forward to the first meeting next week.
Next week, as in April 27th, they've announced the first gathering of this group. We will see what kind of a public profile they want to have in terms of the kind of advice they might be giving the Prime Minister.
And when we talk about who's on this council as well, a part of the names are the former Conservative Party leader as well as a former Conservative cabinet member. It's intended to be a nonpartisan panel with business leaders as well. How is it being received then?
Yeah, Pierre Poilievre, the current Conservative leader, made a point of climbing up the stairs to talk to reporters outside Cabinet today to offer this take, and perhaps not a surprise, as he surveys the Prime Minister's video, taking stock of where Canada is, that went up on social media over the weekend, and also this sort of news about the advisory team around him. He was somewhat less impressed.
And what has Mark Carney done, really, in a year on this? He hasn't held negotiations in 5 months. The Mexicans are going to be at the table formally with the Americans any day. The only talks that Mark Carney is doing are YouTube videos where he's comparing himself to Sir Isaac Brock and holding up little figurines in his office.
The Conservatives very critical of the Liberals' habit, let's be frank, of sort of taking this process news and putting it in front of people, as opposed to what the Conservatives say is lacking, which is demonstrated action to resolve some of these thorny trade files. In particular, Poilievre has suggested that Canada's critical minerals, its gas, its lumber resources could be things that are important to the U.S. for their defense industry to drive down cost of living issues with housing and the price at the pumps, and that should be Canada's leverage to be able to get back to a lower no-tariff regime with the Americans again. Is that possible in this environment? We'll see. François-Philippe Champagne, the finance minister just back from talks in Washington, was suggesting that things are going well, but also noting that around the world, a lot of people want to partner with Canada. That too, the fact that they can also have the option of working with other countries, could be leverage going forward.
Janice, thank you for this. That is the CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa.